Good morning, y'all. Good morning. I wake up every day early, so I was like, I'm bored, so I'll wake up and do something on our next generation of Democrats. So you guys see the moniker, you see what's going on with the thumbnail, right? So before I even get into Maxwell Frost specifically, right? I want to say something that honestly gives me hope for our next generations out there. As somebody who has watched politics for a long time, watched the movements rise and fall, watched generations fight for rights, justice, equality, and basic dignity, I can honestly say I'm proud of this younger generation for stepping up and carrying the fight forward, which is what we need to do. Because every generation reaches a point where they have to decide whether they're going to stay silent or whether they're going to challenge the system they inherited. And this younger generation has inherited a lot: economic pressure, political division, mass shootings, social media chaos, and rising costs, distrust in these institutions specifically, right? And we got climate fears, housing struggles, student debt. And despite all of that, there are still young people willing to organize, protest, speak out, run for office, thank goodness, and try to make this country better. That matters to me, right? Because progress in America is always dependent on the younger generation refusing to accept the things that have to stay the way they are. Every major movement in this country was pushed forward by younger voices willing to challenge the older systems. And this is what we need in Congress: the younger voices pushing the older people aside and putting more things on the table. So, right? So, every generation has had people willing to step into uncomfortable spaces and demand the change. So, and now we're watching a new generation begin to take its place politically. Not just this Maxwell Frost person, but he's one of the first people that I wanted to speak about, right? Uh, but political activists and people just like him have started to emerge on the scenes. Younger leaders who grew up in a different America than previous generations did, different generation than I did, right? Leaders shaped by the internet, by activism, by cultural change, by economic frustration, and by a political system that often feels disconnected from everyday people. I just did a show or a video regarding why black men feel as though the Democratic Party has abandoned them. And I said, you have to work within the system. If you're not working within the system and you're not putting agendas on the table for the Democratic Party to be held accountable for, then you're just standing there not willing to do anything to belong to a party. So these young people today, they communicate differently. They organize differently. They fight differently. They have online personas, but they're stepping into a leadership position at this moment when this country desperately needs new energy and new voices. I encourage all younger people, Republican or Democrat, to pull themselves out of the ennui that they find themselves in and come to the forefront and try to help our country be better. One of the biggest political stories happening right now is not just Donald Trump. It's not just about Republicans versus Democrats. It's not even just about the next generation. I think one of the biggest stories happening right now is that America is watching a completely different generation of politicians enter the political arena. And Maxwell Frost may be one of the cleanest examples of that shift, because Maxwell Frost does not look like the traditional leadership we've been watching for decades. Thank God. He does not sound like them. He does not communicate like them. He does not rise through the politics the way that they have done. And whether people agree with him or not, both political parties clearly understand this man represents something bigger than just one congressional seat.
Okay. I agree with you. No, I just have a question for DeSantis. We're losing 100 people a day due to gun violence.
I think that you're going to have
Governor, we need you to take action on gun violence.
to hear from you.
We need to take action. Floridians are dying. Floridians are dying. Governor, Floridians are dying. We need help. Governor DeSantis, we need help. We need action on gun violence. Governor, please, we need your help. We're dying. Kids are dying. Governor, we need your help. Governor, we need your help, Governor.
So that was Maxwell Frost's first entry into the political arena when he confronted DeSantis. He confronted DeSantis, and there was nothing DeSantis could say. It was embarrassing for DeSantis, right? Let's see, young guy. Let me see. Let me show this pic. Hold on. It was embarrassing for DeSantis. Let's put it that way. That he should have been able to answer the young man's question, but he wasn't able to do that. So he tried to brush the young man off, right? The Democratic candidate, he was a Democratic candidate at that time, and he confronts DeSantis about gun violence at the Orlando event. There was nothing DeSantis could say except say, we don't want to hear from you. He came up through politics and activism, through frustration, through organizing, through direct contact, confrontation. He came out of the generation shaped by school shootings, social media, rising rent, economic pressure, political chaos, and frustration with the government doing nothing while regular people struggle every year. And I think that matters, right? Because for a lot of time, politics in America was dominated by people who came up through institutions, lawyers, donors, political insiders, committee politics, television politics, carefully scripted politics. But Maxwell Frost represents a generation, the Generation X or Z, Generation Z, okay? He represents the Generation Z that grew up online, a generation that communicates emotionally, directly, aggressively, and fast. And so he's very swift and quick on his feet. This is a generation raised on viral moments instead of long press conferences like we are used to, people my age are used to. And I think both political parties understand that the media environment has changed dramatically. Politics is not just politics anymore. Politics is personality now, right? Politics is social media, emotional connection, and politicians who understand that have a massive advantage. And this is part of Maxwell Frost's how he got national attention so quickly. He was willing to directly confront power publicly, which he confronted DeSantis on this gun violence. He did that publicly, and he was just a candidate. He was willing to interrupt events, willing to speak emotionally, willing to sound angry, willing to sound frustrated, and younger voters responded differently to that than the older generations do. A lot of younger Americans feel like nobody's listening to them. They feel economically trapped. They even feel burned out, and they feel exhausted. Okay, and they've inherited debt, instability, unaffordable housing, impossible rent, endless mass shootings, and I get all that. And whether people agree with Maxwell Frost or not, politically or not, this young man speaks like somebody who actually belongs to this generation and this time. Here, listen to this clip.
Thank you. And I think that the theme that we are seeing is, you said it, a right to life versus their desire for profit. You just described that, and in this bill, that's what we see over and over again, the right to life, because you need the health insurance, versus the right for profit.
Yeah, see, they say they're pro-life because they want the baby to be born, go to school, and get shot in the school. Die in the school, die on the streets. No. That is what they say.
I'm not going to say anything, but you've gone over the cliff.
I moved to strike his words.
You've gone over. We were going to be quiet, but you've gone over now.
You didn't use any.
I meant every word.
We are going to strike your words. But on the other hand, it might be good to leave your words. It might be good to leave your words. Because that's how you feel. But you are not going to come into this room and impugn our integrity. You will not. We are pro-life people from conception to natural death. Most of us are. And don't you come in here and say, we want to preserve life so people can get shot.
That's what I've seen.
Are you through, Ms. Ledger Fernandez? I hope so.
See, and this is what makes him a very important figure in the new Democratic people coming up. This is not really about Maxwell Frost. This is about what happens when a younger generation finally starts entering the power arena of politics. We need more young people, Democrats and Republicans, coming into the arena. This is about the Democratic Party, though, understanding that it cannot survive forever speaking the language of older generations, while younger Americans are living completely different lives. And for Black men specifically, I think this story matters even more because a lot of younger Black men feel politically disconnected right now. Some feel ignored. Some feel like politics only show up to talk to them every while for years. And some feel economically stuck. Some feel like neither party actually understands their frustration. And many younger Black men do not see themselves reflected in traditional political leadership. So what makes Maxwell Frost different is not just that he's Black. It's that he represents a younger Black political voice that wants to shape modern America into, instead of the only civil rights era politics, they want to do a new form of politics. He sounds different. He communicates differently. He understands internet culture differently. He understands how younger people consume politics now. And Democrats understand something very important right now, whether they admit it publicly or not. Younger Black voters are not automatically guaranteed forever. Younger voters in general are not automatically guaranteed forever. They have to reconnect with those younger generations emotionally all over again. That's Republican and Democrat. The people who voted for Donald Trump, he lost that whole Gen Z crowd. He lost that whole demographic. He lost that Hispanic demographic. He lost the independent demographic. All of those people were not permanent for the Republican Party. And so they've drawn maps and did all of those things based on the 2024 election. And those people are not there for the Republican Party anymore because the younger generation thinks differently. The younger generation has new ideas, fresh ideas, better ideas than the older generation. So I think it's a good thing when we have young voters coming out. That's why politicians like Maxwell Frost matter so much strategically for Democrats, because the party is aging while the country is getting younger, more online, more frustrated, and more emotionally disconnected from these institutions. And we need more people like Maxwell Frost in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. We need both of these parties to do what they need to do to move the country forward. Let me play this video.
My colleague just called me.
Now, hold on.
Speaking, okay.
That's your time.
I agree with you. No, I just have a question for my colleague from the state of Louisiana, because I'm curious as to where your bill is. Louisiana is the state with the second highest rate of deaths in this nation. You are more likely to be shot standing on a random street in your state than you are in Washington, D.C. So my question is, where's your bill for the occupation of the state of Louisiana to keep your people safe, if you're at all sincere in this?
Gentlemen, yield for an answer.
I yield for an answer.
I support state rights. I'm a constitutionalist.
But not D.C.?
Stand by. As a constitutionalist, I support my state, my sovereign state's legislature, which is doing everything it can to push back upon the crime rate of the Democrat-controlled cities.
Okay,
of
so
New
I'll
Orleans.
take my time back. I'll take my time back.
If you remove
That's the
the crime
rules.
stats
That's the
of New
rules. I'll
Orleans,
take my time back.
Louisiana, one of the
I'll take my
safest-
time back. So you only invoke the rules
In
when
the country.
other people are speaking, not when you're speaking. Okay.
That's your time.
I agree with you. Look, I'm for state sovereignty. So what do you think about California?
Look, California is not where I live. You asked me about my state. I'm
See,
telling
you only
I'm-
care,
you
and
cited
I'll
crime in
reclaim
my
my
state,
time. I'll
so
reclaim
I'm
my
gonna
time.
correct
I'll
you.
reclaim my time.
Crime
I'll
in
reclaim
my
my
state
time. I
is
will
driven by
reclaim
the city
my
of New
time.
Orleans.
The gentleman will
Run by
stop
Democrats.
speaking. I will reclaim my time.
Chairman.
You're more likely to be shot standing in a random
In New
street in
Orleans.
your state,
This is
in
Mr. Frost time,
Louisiana,
Mr. Chairman.
and
This is
anywhere
Mr.
in
Frost time.
Washington, D.C., and you're here because you're lapdogs
Point
to
of
the
order,
President of the
Mr.
United
Chairman.
States, who during the election last year, we
Words
said
taken
time and
down,
time
Mr.
again, I
Words
reclaim my
taken
time.
down, Mr. Chairman.
All right, hold on.
My colleague just called me a lapdog for the President of the United States. I move for his words
Hold
to
on.
be taken down.
This
Wow. And whether people love Maxwell Frost or hate Maxwell Frost, Republicans clearly understand he represents something bigger too. Because young politicians with charisma, social media instincts, and emotional communication skills can become national figures very quickly now. We are not living in the old political world anymore, where politicians slowly rise through decades of committee meetings before anybody notices them. One viral moment can change everything about a politician and his trajectory. And that's why I think Maxwell Frost represents something much larger than one congressman from Florida. I think he represents the next version of Democratic politics. Younger, faster, smarter, more emotional, more confrontational, more internet driven, more personality based, more culturally aware than we have in office right now. But honestly, this conversation should not stop at Democrat, because if America is going to move forward, we need young Republicans too. We need younger conservatives willing to step into leadership with fresh ideas, new energy, a real understanding of the modern world. We need younger Democrats and younger Republicans, both challenging old political habits that clearly are not working anymore. We need leaders, young leaders who actually understand what younger America is dealing with right now, because they're living in it too. And that's important because democracy only stays healthy when new generations participate in it from every direction politically. A country cannot survive if politics become dominated only by aging leadership, disconnected from the realities that younger people face every day. We need debate. We need disagreement. We need ideological competition, but we also need generational renewal. That means young progressives, young conservatives, independents, organizers, mayors, activists, and lawmakers. America needs all of them because the future of this country does not belong to one party. It cannot belong to one party. That's dictatorship. It belongs to the generation that is willing to step up, engage, lead, and take responsibility for where this country goes. And whether people realize it or not, the generational shift is already happening right in front of us. So my person for the day, for the week so far is Maxwell Frost, the young Democrat who is a Generation Z, Gen Z, as they say, and who is leading the future for this American experiment. So I'll highlight another one if we have run across a very influential young politician. Maxwell Frost seems to be the youngest one. I think he's 28, 29, something like that. And so he's very young, very, very experienced, very emotional, intelligent, smart, willing to be confrontational, willing to call out the facts. And we're just going to watch Maxwell Frost. We'll watch other leaders that may come on the scene, whether they're Republican or they're Democrat. But we need younger blood in this fight. We cannot continue to do the same things we have been doing, fighting the same old fights, culture wars, all of that kind of garbage when our country is going down the tubes. So hopefully we can find other people like Maxwell Frost. I keep saying Maxwell Frost, who want to lead our country in a better direction. So if you like my commentary for this morning, please leave a like, share, and subscribe. And I appreciate you guys. And I will see you in the next video.